Is Minnesota Vikings rookie quarterback JJ McCarthy going to be QB3? Forget starting. Forget being the backup on the Minnesota Vikings roster. Are the Minnesota Vikings setting up the rookie out of the University of Michigan to be a quarterback not only behind Sam Darnold, but behind Nick Mullins? This take is presented by Hokeland Farm. Contact Hokeland Farm at 952-491-1541 and get the best rotationally grazed 100% grass-fed beef. This beef is sold in quarters and halves, and he has custom sample packs so you can try before you buy in bulk. Contact Hokeland Farms today and get 20% off your first order by mentioning the Minnesota Tim Podcast. 952-491-1541. Okay, so Paul Allen, the voice of the Vikings, the host of 9 to Noon on KFAN, and he's also a play-by-play voice at Canterbury Park. He's joined the Minnesota Tim Podcast a lot over the last few years, and he was on his radio show the other day, and he had this to say about the quarterback situation. He says, I would make it prohibitively favored in that it would be Sam Darnold starting, Nick Mullins as the backup, and then JJ McCarthy as the third QB. But this is an opportunity for McCarthy. Punter's chance would be too strong, but longish shot fashion to win the 2 job in training camp. And I don't necessarily know if it's going to happen, but I would make 3 QBs on the active roster prohibitively favored. End quote. So Paul Allen is saying that it's a longish shot for JJ McCarthy to win the backup job. And the Minnesota Vikings have been intentional. They have been safe. They have been careful. They are not going to allow the hype train to get out of hand with Minnesota Vikings rookie JJ McCarthy. I think the question is this, though. If Sam Darnold throws 3 picks a game for the first 3 weeks of the season, is Nick Mullins going to be the starter ahead of JJ McCarthy? Or is this all about protecting your rookie quarterback before training camp starts? I'm sure there's some of that. Is Nick Mullins really more talented than JJ McCarthy? I don't necessarily think so. Is Nick Mullins more talented than JJ McCarthy? I don't think so. There's no chance. So what the Minnesota Vikings are doing, they're putting a locked-on cruise control on JJ McCarthy because they don't want this hype, this media landscape, the fans, to put on unnecessary pressure on a 21-year-old quarterback out of the University of Michigan. And I agree 100% with this Minnesota Vikings strategy. Now, I think JJ McCarthy would get a start over Nick Mullins if it came down to that. But it's all about putting the pieces in place. It's all about not rushing the quarterback onto the field too early. And, Pete Burfsich actually had things to say about this as well. I'm finding the quote, courtesy of the Purple Persuasion Twitter account. You guys need to go follow that account right now. The best Minnesota Vikings Twitter account there is. Pete Burfsich, via KFan, says this. They know what they have in Mullins. Mullins has been around. We've seen what he can do. And you have a guy, McCarthy, that needs snaps. And so whether he's 2 or 3, if he's 3, I think he's going to be out there very quickly, as a 3, and get a vastly majority of these preseason snaps to get himself ready. But I don't expect McCarthy to be at 3 for very long, if past the first preseason game. I remember when I got my license, and I was like, you know what? I'm never, ever, ever going to get a speeding ticket. That is my goal. So on the normal road, I lived in the country back in the day. I set my cruise control for 55, 56 miles an hour. People were blowing by me left and right. And then I got comfortable on the roads at some point in time. And then I started going 60, 65 on those same roads and didn't care as much. I've never gotten a speeding ticket in Minnesota my entire life. When I lived in Washington, D.C., I got 3 because of those stupid camera systems. There's stupid camera systems that gave me a speeding ticket. I've never been pulled over for a speeding ticket my entire life. But those camera systems in Washington, D.C., those liberal camera systems got me. 3 times. Twice in a matter of 30 minutes because I was late. Well, I actually wasn't late, but I went somewhere. They told me to go get something else. Went back, had to get back. Oh, it's unreal.
For human life.
So, anyway, the entire point of that story is to say that, at first, the Minnesota Vikings are setting JJ McCarthy on a 55-mile-per-hour cruise control. They are not going to unleash him to the public, and they are going to restrict him as much as possible until he shows that he's way better than Sam Darnold and Nick Mullins. What you don't want as a Minnesota Vikings organization is all this pressure coming from fans, coming from ownership, coming from from players on getting JJ McCarthy onto the field earlier than he needs to be. Because Brad Johnson said it well on my podcast yesterday. He said, Steve Young, he didn't start right away. He bounced around. Warren Moon played in Canada. Played in the Canadian Football League for a little while. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. Kurt Warner sat for a while. Great Tom Brady sat behind Drew Bledsoe for a bit. Great quarterbacks. Look at the history. What's the rush? We live in such a now society that waiting and developing JJ McCarthy is really, really, really hard. For me, too. Like, I want to see the guy. I can't wait for preseason when we get to see JJ McCarthy on the football field to see what he can do in an NFL uniform. But patience, patience, patience. Unfortunately, NFL fans don't like that word. Nobody likes that word in general. Be patient. No thanks. But we need to be patient with JJ McCarthy. We need to let it settle in, let him settle in for a little while, and then we'll see what happens in the future. Because it's not like this is going to be the situation forever. They drafted him 10th overall for a reason. He's going to start probably at the beginning of 2025 at the latest. So chill. But JJ McCarthy is QB3. Thank you for watching this episode. Thank you for subscribing if you do. If you're not, hit that subscribe button right there. And remember to contact Hokeland Farm at 952-491-1541.